everybody. We are going to talk about Social Security today, and specifically, I want to clear up some misconceptions and things that people often get wrong about Social Security right now. Um, so before we do, please take a minute and check out the link you see on your screen, fool.com/Frankel. Get the top 10 stock picks from the Motley Fool's excellent stock advisor product. It's the best way to support this work I am doing on YouTube. Again, fool.com/Frankel. So let me go ahead and quickly share my screen. All right, so the question that a lot of people want to know is Social Security going broke? So there's a lot of kind of misconceptions and half truths going around about Social Security's financial condition, which, to be fair, isn't the best. But it's important to know exactly what we're dealing with, especially if you're planning on getting Social Security in 20, 30 years or so. So you might have seen things in the news media and in social media, in particularly social media, that say things like Social Security is running out of money. Congress raided Social Security's reserves, and all that is left is a bunch of IOUs. Social Security doesn't have any money. So none of those are totally true. So here, let's go one at a time. So for now, Social Security has plenty of money. At the end of 2023, Social Security had $2.83 trillion in reserves. The program also brought in $1.35 trillion in total income in 2023. That's from things like payroll taxes and taxes on Social Security benefits. And for now, Social Security has plenty of money in its trust funds. So the 1.35 trillion that is coming in, that's on top of the 2.83 trillion it has in the bank. So for now, it has plenty of money. So Social Security doesn't have any cash. A lot of people say, oh, Congress raided Social Security. There's nothing but IOUs left. And yes, that's true in the sense that Social Security's reserves are not just a pile of cash held somewhere in a warehouse. Like any responsible investment manager would, the Social Security trustees, the board of trustees, they invest the money in interest-bearing investments, specifically Treasury securities. This is no different than if you spent $1,000 to buy a Treasury bond, and then that bond paid you interest every year, and eventually you got your $1,000 back. Same exact thing goes on in Social Security. In fact, Social Security made $67 billion in interest income, received that from the Treasury for interest on its investments. And that happened last year alone. So every year, billions and billions of dollars of money is flowing into Social Security from its investments. That would not exist if the money was just sitting there in cash in a bank account. So it's no more accurate to say that Congress raided Social Security or all that's left is IOUs than to say that that's all that's left in your bank account. Your bank account is an interest-bearing instrument, especially if you have something like a CD or if you buy bonds. It's an interest-bearing instrument. It technically is a form of an IOU, but it's backed by the full financial security of the United States government. So it's not like this Congress stole the money. It's Treasury securities. But now we'll get to the bad news. So will Social Security run out of money? So here's the bad news. I mentioned earlier that Social Security brought in $1.35 trillion of income in 2023. Meanwhile, the program cost about $1.39 trillion to run. So the key takeaway from that sentence is that Social Security is costing us more than it is bringing in. The difference there, which is about $40 billion last year, that had to come from the reserves. So some of the reserves were withdrawn. Those Treasury securities were redeemed, and $40 billion of it, out of that $2.83 trillion, was used to run the program. That's not a terrible deficit when you consider how much money Social Security has in reserves. But the problem is that these deficits are expected to get much worse over the next several years. In fact, Social Security is expected to completely run out of money in its trust funds by 2035 if nothing changes. However, keep in mind that Social Security does still have income. It makes money from the payroll taxes that come out of your paycheck and that your employer pays. Some certain people pay taxes on their Social Security benefits, and all of that money goes directly back into the program. And of course, there won't be interest income, but there is still payroll tax revenue. And after 2035, if nothing changes, Social Security will still be able to pay 83% of the benefits that it is planned to pay. So, worst case scenario, you're looking at a 17% benefit cut in about 11 years if nothing changes with the program. But history tells us that something will change. This isn't the first time that Social Security has been set to run out of money. It happened during the Reagan years. That's why Social Security's full retirement age gradually increased from 65 to 67 over the past couple of decades. So this has happened before. There have been changes made before. So what would it take to fix Social Security today? So there's a lot to unpack here, much more than I could fit into one slide. But in order to, this is just according to the Social Security Trustees Report, if we wanted to bring Social Security into financial solvency through at least 2098, so a 75-year plan, we would need a payroll tax increase of 4.02%, so about 4% of taxable payroll. Right now, employers and employees each pay 6.2% of taxable payroll up to a certain amount to Social Security. So those 6.2% rates would need to go up to 8.2% because remember, that 4% would be split 2% increase to the employer, 2% to the employee. So your 6.2% Social Security tax, if it was increased to 8.2% starting in 2035, it would totally take care of the problem. Obviously, no one wants a big tax increase. The other, all-in-one solution would be a benefit reduction. So a permanent Social Security benefit reduction of 24.6%, so almost a quarter, would be needed to completely make Social Security solvent for the foreseeable future. Now, neither of those neither of those solutions are popular on their own and are pretty much political non-starters. So the actual solution would probably be some combination of benefit reductions, which wouldn't be an across-the-board benefit cut, by the way. Benefit reductions can take place in several different ways. You could just do benefit reductions for the highest earners, for example. You could raise the full retirement age further like we've done in the past. There are a bunch of different ways you can reduce benefits without doing an across-the-board benefits cut. Or it would have to come from some combination of that and higher taxes. Now, an all-in-one tax increase in 2035 is not very desirable. We could do a payroll tax increase that took effect spread out over the next 20 years. Increase it by 0.1% per year until we get to the needed tax increase. You could increase taxes on just the highest earners. You could raise the taxable payroll limit, which they've been talking about doing for a long time, or create a higher Social Security tax bracket that kicks in on income above $400,000, which is a level that's been floated a few times. So the point is there's a bunch of different ways that we can either reduce the money flowing out of Social Security or make more money flow into it without doing these all-in-one drastic solutions that you see on this slide. And if history is any indicator, that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, the earlier they solve the problem, the easier it's going to be. I would prefer them to solve the problem before we blow through that $2.8 trillion that's sitting in reserves. It would require a much smaller tax increase, for example, if we did it now as opposed to in 2035. Congress has and another thing history tells us is Congress is very last minute with this stuff. When the Reagan era Social Security amendments were made, we were months away from being completely out of money. So we need some type of solution to happen. The sooner the better. We need Congress to act for it to happen. I'd love to hear what do you think should be done to Social Security? What is your preferred way they solve the problem? Some combination of tax increases and benefit cuts, but what do you think it should look like? I'd love to hear what you have to think. I'll do my best to respond to every comment individually, and thank you for watching. I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You all know how much I love researching new stocks and trying to find the next best investment. So I'm proud to partner with The Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from the popular product Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beaten the market by nearly 5 times. So go to fool.com/Frankel to get your 10 stock picks now. The Motley Fool Stock Advisor returns are 767% as of July 5th, 2024, and are measured against the S&P 500 returns of 163% as of July 5th, 2024.